This is Mr. Perez, and I'm doing another of the type anatomy posters critique. This one is Hanna's poster, and let's go and take a look from like far away. This is what her poster is about. Okay, and remember, our client is a graphic designer, so she was clever about it. She put stuff that you have in a graphic designer's office. You have the pen. Nowadays, it's a digital pen. You got the mouse, you got some kind of mouse pad, the keyboard. Even though it doesn't look like a Mac, it kind of looks like a Mac with a little hole thing on the back. So it's kind of like cool because it's not marrying with Mac or PC. And of course, our old friend, the coffee cup. You can't design without coffee. Oh my God. So I'm looking generally, it have a good feeling to it. It have a good balance. You see how the coffee cup goes in an angle. The mouse kind of balance the composition. So there's a lot of funky, cool stuff happening here. Okay, I kind of like the type too. It have a little retro feeling to it. So that's also really sweet. I see a little white gap here that shouldn't happen. And the way to fix that is when you save the JPEG, you click a little thing when you go file export to JPEG. There's a little thing that you can click on that said use artboard. Then you don't have to highlight the area that you want to save. Or if this is the actual artboard, then make sure that the gray goes all the way to the edge. Just little things like that. You have to be careful. There's no type at the edge of the page, which is great because otherwise they might not be able to print it if you're going to take this for printing. Now, every time I make a graphic project, I make little rules for that project. For example, I'm looking at computer. Computer is sans serif. And Hanna was clever in the way that it said computer on sans serif. She kept the type. Coffee was made in modern. You see what a script for mouse, and you kind of know then what's going on. What I like to see in all these things, as much as possible, is people get used to a way to do things. For example, all tables have the same height. All dining tables. That's a standard size, and you have to comply with many things. Like, for example, can you put a wheelchair under the table? I'm talking table for like restaurants and that kind of thing. Doors have to have a certain width by law. So you can make your own rules. If you're gonna have the little title, the little type at the bottom, then they all should have it at the bottom. At the same distance, not something in between. Is this typeface a hairline typeface or is it a modern? How a person not familiar with this thing will know. You see, pen have it at the bottom, old style. Sans serif have it at the bottom. Maybe the old style could move a little more, kind of like to mimic this. Maybe modern need to be here. The hairline could be on top and aperture could be a little more to the left to make room for modern. Decorative, same thing, should be on this area. Let me get a little closer so everybody looking at this video can see what I mean. You see how far away that is? It gets a little confusing to see for somebody who's not part of the graphic world. Same thing with slab serif, then it should be maybe at the bottom. And you can move the word drawing to the top a little bit and we'll be happy. Script, same thing. Or maybe they all should be on the top. Who knows? Whatever you decide on. This looks a little lighter than this. Maybe it's because the background is darker. Maybe not. So something to look at because this white looks just like the white here. So what else should we look for? I like that it's kind of like everything flowing in a circle. That's really cool. I also see a little hard to read in some areas because the keyboard, of course, is busy. You know, it's a keyboard. Maybe instead of 100% opacity, it can be taken to maybe like a 70. So you see the keyboard, but it's not competing with the elements on top. And sometimes you can add a shadow to a letter. You can put, Illustrator actually has a shadow feature where you can put maybe a dark purple to the shadow. Really, really close to the letter. And I'm gonna zoom in here as much as I can to make my point. So it gets a little hard to read in some areas, like here. So if you put a little bit of a dark, actually this purple on the shadow, or maybe a little darker, or this blue, then the letters are gonna pop, not a far away shadow, maybe a quarter of a point, 0.25. You hardly would be able to see it. It would be like a hairline, but you're gonna pop the letters. And I'm talking a shadow that is not blend. If you fill up the shadow, it's gonna be like a letter on top of each other. Just shift it a little bit, and it's gonna change a lot. I like the sensor if it's a really funky, cool looking one, actually. And the another typography, I used to have a graphic design book that had exactly the same typeface. So it's kind of cool. I like the ear, how it was done. See here, you can see it clear. Here it gets a little. So it's mostly readability issues and just keep the rules constant. So it's sans serif. With this, it should be at whatever distance. Modern, they all should be. So I can predict where the next one is going to be. Well, good design should be able to be predictable in a sense that, let's say I'm riding a subway, a train, I expect to see the train stops all in the same spot. When I get out of the train, the sign should be equal in every train station. So I don't have to be guessing in which train station I am. Or the bus signs, they all should read the same way. If every bus sign is different in the city, people will get confused. And here you see that gap. You can't have that. It's just not the way we do things. So these are just little minor things. I think you can fix this up in a few minutes and you're gonna have a beautiful poster. Nice piece, very funky and very proper for the client at the end of the day, which is a graphic designer. They will love this in their office. Take care.